In Xanadu is about Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan became the emperor of China, and he became one of the most powerful figures in world history. But he was dedicated to his wife, and when she died, he lost heart. All of the trappings of power lost their meaning for him. So that was the key to the story itself. I began this whole project thinking it was going to be a story about Marco Polo. And I was very taken with a book by Italo Calvino called Invisible Cities, which described these fantastic places. In that book, Invisible Cities, in fact, it's a dialogue between Kublai Khan and Marco Polo. But the more I read it, the more I realized that it was really a Eurocentric Italian point of view that wasn't what I was after. I was after a deeper and more Asian story than that. In the process of realizing that, I discovered the love story between Kublai Khan and Chabui, and Marco Polo became a vestige, really, of the earlier idea. And so I used Marco Polo coming back to report on the various far-flung reaches of the empire as a way of playing and having a lighthearted moment, separating one part of the story from another.
What I've done while you've been gone.
Wolf.
This came down to a story about two people.
Came into the world and married a deer.
The upshot was, what is it to be a powerful person? What is it to be in love? What is it to have the fate of a nation at your control? What are the trappings of power, and what is their value without love? I think that Kublai Khan goes through a kind of a revelation, because I think it begins with him being truly a powerful ruler and wanting to exert his power and exert his influence over as wide a sphere as possible. What became really interesting to me in this course of the story was the way that there was kind of a triple pull on the Khan between his magical roots in shamanism.
I command the wind and rain to follow us.
Between the type of Buddhism that Chabui was advocating and his own sort of secular will to power. More and more, the things he did for Chabui, that's what would give them the most meaning. So he would say, I'll build a palace of pearls for my wife.
I'll build a palace of pearls for my wife.
To me, a powerful part of his character was finding his voice and being able to feel his personality through the voice.
My love, silk and pearls and precious art to fill the halls of Xanadu.
Which expressed his power, his dedication, and his ruthlessness. Because if you imagine what it would take to build a palace of pearls, how many people would have had to have died and dived in order to do that? And to do that in the name of love.
Most High Majesty.
Imperial benevolence. When I really sit and think in my quiet mind, I have a very old spirit, and that's where Chabui comes from. She's the voice of wisdom. She's the ancient. She's the one who knows everything. She knows more than she'll ever tell. She knows that her silence is very loud.
One of the key turning points is the capturing of the Sung Empress. And this is really Chabui's scene. The Empress is dragged in chains, and Chabui comes over to her and shows her tremendous respect. When she bows to the Empress, she sees herself. She understands that within seconds she could be the prisoner. And she wants to treat everybody as well as she wants to be treated. It's one of the keys to her character. That's a turning point in our story, because from then on, she's insisting that the Khan show more respect to the conquered peoples. It comes out again in the scene with the Minister of War, who's just ready to have a scorched earth policy everywhere.
The farmers who have slept on this land for centuries know its uses better than we do.
My Lord Minister of War, their ways are different from ours, but no less true. The land itself is different. Its winds and waters strange to us. But they have tamed it, and it answers to their touch. In our hands, it would shy away and balk.
What good is it to conquer an army if you must wear the clothes of those you have conquered?
To have successful governance, you have to know who you're governing and pay attention to them. And that's a good allegory for any politics of any time. Kadagan is a maid. And in almost all Asian theater, there's always a maid character who's also a comic character, but also has a certain wisdom about her in a very earthy way. And it's Shakespearean as well. That was the other light element that we could bring to the story.
Kadagan.
Kadagan was showing off her mistress, the Empress, Chabui, and by her earthiness contrasting with Chabui's regalness. How deeply she appreciates Chabui comes across in almost everything she says and does. So it deepens our appreciation of the character.
Oh, Your Highness, you are so warm. My husband and my teacher arguing like children over points of pride when both of you are right.
The danger in creating Chabui's character was that she was too much of a goody-goody. Her weakness actually turns out to be pride in that. That she's so proud of how right she is all the time that she all of a sudden gets this inexplicable sickness. And the sickness comes from being maybe too attached to her children and her husband, who are sent off to war. And she suddenly has these nightmares about them in battle that she can't stop and that are completely against all of her Buddhist feelings, which have been a huge conflict for her. She's moving more and more towards a not killing point of view, but she's in one of the most violent families that anybody's ever known. So as the most powerful ruler in the universe at the time, he has a lot of trouble accepting things that don't go his way. And when his wife died, that was the most difficult thing of all for him to accept. He did not believe, could not believe, that it would be possible for her to go before him.
Holiness, I want her back.
There are things we cannot change.
So he went to the Buddhist priest and he couldn't get any help from him. The Buddhist said, accept it. This is life. Life is death.
Take me to her.
He went to the shaman and coerced the shaman into taking him to the underground and to chase after Chabui's soul. So they go through the different stages of hell that are the various bardos in Buddhist belief and catch glimpses of her over and over again and get closer and get closer.